for a lot of people, they don't want to open Pandora's box. They don't want to go into some maybe memories or life events that have been painful for them. But I find it to be more unsafe to hold on to that emotion and allow it to shape the decisions that you make in your career, in your relationships, and in your health. Breathwork will help you find the gratitude again. It'll help you find your creativity again, and you might actually discover your purpose within your organization.
That's Francesca Sipma. She's the founder and CEO of Mastry, creator of HypnoBreathwork, and an international speaker who's worked with world-renowned clients. She's also the author of Unblock Your Purpose, Breathwork, Intuition, and Flow State. So you'll learn 1, how breathwork leads to greater clarity, 2, the science supporting breathwork, and 3, the most important question to ask yourself. And if you want a quick summary write-up of these takeaways, I recommend you sign up for the free Gold Nugget email newsletter at awesomeatyourjob.com. I'm Pete Makaitis. This is How to Be Awesome at Your Job. And now, here's Francesca. Francesca, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm so excited to chat through your book and your discoveries around Unblock Your Purpose, Breathwork, Intuition, and Flow State. Could you maybe share with us, for starters, your journey in the short version with regard to how'd you stumble upon this protocol and what's it doing for people?
Yeah, so a little bit about my background is I actually come from advertising and marketing in Manhattan and sort of hit a lot of my goals and found myself at the peak of the mountaintop, so to say, and just felt quite empty and unfulfilled. And that really took me on a quest to rediscover my values and to sort of pivot my career into something that would bring me more fulfillment. And that's when I discovered breathwork and was completely fascinated by this practice. It took me really deep into my subconscious and was extremely revealing of things that needed to heal in order to tap into my highest clarity and intuition. And the breathwork really helped me discover my life's purpose, which gave me a lot of meaning and fulfillment. And now it's my quest to share that with others.
How does breathing help us get to a purpose?
So breathwork reveals sort of your subconscious motivations and anything that's unhealed in past relationships, and also a bit how your identity has been formed. So in order for you to discover your purpose, which my definition of purpose is really the convergence of your skills, your experiences, obstacles you've overcome, and how you turn that outwards to be of service, you have to get to know yourself a bit. You have to go through the defense mechanisms, the ego, any protective strategies that have been built. And breathwork has this really unique and profound ability to cut through the conscious mind. And it allows us to go deeper into emotions that have been repressed. And the exhale really allows us to clear out any sadness or guilt, subconscious limitations. And it just reveals more truth. It reveals our authenticity. And when we do that consistently, the dots start to connect between the things that really light us up and how we can contribute to the world.
Well, Francesca, help me out. I've been breathing for a long time, but I don't think breathing has ever done that for me. Am I doing it wrong, or what's the missing link here?
Yeah, it's a very specific style that we do. You know, breathwork has really become an umbrella term, and there's a lot of different practices and processes. And most of it has really been for calming or for anxiety and stress relief. But the style of breathwork that we work on is called HypnoBreathwork. And so the breath is really more of an experiential therapy. It's a very intense 2 inhale, 1 exhale for about 20 minutes. And that really starts to disrupt your conscious mind and those habitual thought loops. And then we bring in hypnotic suggestions, which are vocal cues that allow you to really focus and concentrate your brain on very specific prompts. And that might reveal what you wanted to be when you were younger, or how your skills can connect into something that you're passionate about. And then we have visioning, which we really bring at the end of a session so that people can mentally rehearse their goals. They can see the highest version of themselves. They can get clear action steps on what they want to create in the future. And it's a hyper efficient and effective 22-minute process. And each session sort of has a theme or a topic of things that we move and get clarity on. And when you do that daily, you can make a lot of progress in your life.
Wow. That's really intriguing. Well, so we've had Mark Schoen on the show, who is a clinical psychologist who does hypnosis, and that was cool. And then we had Dr. Sam Rader share about some of the, I don't know if I want to say metaphysical, but she was in the wellness space talking about some of this stuff. And so for those who are skeptical, reluctant, think that sounds a little, I don't know, out there woo-woo, whatever term du jour, could you share any evidence or science or goodness that says, no, for real, this really does stuff?
Yeah, I totally get that perspective. I was extremely skeptical as well. When I went to Bali and discovered breathwork, I was pretty self-righteous, to be honest. I had been in therapy and read a lot of self-help books and thought it was going to be some form of meditation or yoga. But through my experience, I found it was much more deeper than that. And it was very cathartic and it was very healing. And then I went to study it around the world. I went to India, I went to Peru, I went to Thailand, I went to every workshop and training and read every breath book that I could find. And I came to understand that what's happening in our bodies physiologically is we are changing the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide. And when you do that, your blood becomes more alkaline and you start to shut down the prefrontal cortex. And that's the default mode network. That's the over-analytical mind. That's doing things from past experience. That's expectations of how things have been done before. And you start to activate and you start to stimulate different regions and areas of your brain. And it's a bit like microdosing. When you start to activate old memories and information and knowledge and infinite intelligence, all of a sudden you get this expansive worldview. You get more perspective. So I actually use breathwork for peak performance. I use it to get into flow state for my business, to be sharper, clearer, more articulate, problem-solving, decision-making. And what I find is it allows me to be more creative because it's connecting more dots. Because everything that you've ever studied or been inspired by or read or listened to, it all lives in your subconscious mind, which is the record holder of your experiences and your emotions. And when you can breathe past that default mode network and you can start to stimulate these different regions, all of a sudden, those different elements will connect in new and creative ways. So it's like, oh, that one episode that I listened to on Pete's podcast, if I did that for this passion project and I monetize like this, and this is my acquisition strategy, and I sent this email out and I was inspired by that social media billboard, and maybe those are the colors, all of a sudden you get hyper creative and it's a very efficient, very effective process.
Oh, Francesca, that sounds awesome. I enjoy when my brain just makes all the connections from a lot of things. It's a great feeling. Just, aha,
absolutely.
Like insights and things are unlocked and goodness flows. And the research on hypnosis says kind of that kind of same thing, right? With regards to hypnosis is just kind of a state of mind in which we are more accepting or open to receiving suggestion.
Yes.
And so sometimes that's used in kooky stage hypnosis contexts, but it can actually be super useful in terms of practical life contexts for a number of things. I think I found it best when it's like, there's a thing that I know to be true, and yet it doesn't feel true in terms of like my insides, how I'm operating, how I'm emotionally reacting naturally to things. And hypnosis can be handy for that with regard to, say, handling criticism. Like, oh, I know that someone is not the judge, jury, executioner, end all be all with regard to their opinion of me or my performance on a thing. And yet sometimes it feels though like they are, like that is true, but no, it's not true. And then hypnosis seems to have a cool way of letting those suggestions really go deeper and hit home. And it sounds like what you're saying is with a particular breathing approach stacked on top of that, it's like we're getting even more deeper penetration.
Yeah, you're really hitting the nail on the head. I loved hypnotherapy and all of the sessions that I had sort of gone through in my exploration. But what I found was for a lot of the sessions, it would take 60 minutes to 2.5 hours. And I just didn't think that bringing that back to the States and to a modern audience, and especially with my New York friends and people in finance, that they would spend that much time on their personal development. So I started to experiment with an EEG headband and test my brainwaves. And theta brainwaves are where you want to get to in order for the suggestions to really stick, in order for you to access those deeper states where you're less defensive and you are more open to that suggestion. And with the conscious connected breathing, when you do the 2 inhales and 1 exhale, what I found consistently was I could get into theta states within 4 minutes. Versus when I would do it in meditation, which it would be about 15 minutes and I was still oscillating between alpha and beta brainwaves, which means you can negate the suggestion, which means if I say, get to the root of procrastination and what would it look like to finish that task and what would that confidence feel like in your body, you're much more likely to be able to go and see that version of yourself, see yourself on stage, feel the emotion like you already have it, and it can actually stick versus feeling like you're fighting against the current.
So you're using the EEG headband, and you're saying the theta waves roughly corresponds in the app to the calm portion of that.
Yeah.
And you're saying that by doing this breath work, you're able to land at that calm zone way faster than just meditating.
Yes, exactly. Precisely.
Oh, that's cool. And I saw a fun, dorky blog post about meditation tournament and the irony of it all. They called it March Mindfulness. And they talked about how it can be very easy to game those if you're doing the calibration with your eyes open. So tell us a little bit about that nuance. Is this all eyes closed? I even see in your videos, people have eye masks on. Is that right?
Yeah, we like to place a really comfortable eye mask on, make sure that you are laying down, make sure that you're very comfortable and cozy. A lot of people like to have a blanket with them during a breathwork session or a box of tissues because it can be a very intense journey. But breathwork is very different than meditation. I want to be really clear in that distinction. In meditation, you are taking more of a passive state. You're maybe observing your thoughts. You're maybe trying to focus on a mantra. You're maybe focusing on your breath and allowing things to pass or de-trigger yourself. Where breathwork is extremely active. It is very intense. You will feel physical vibrations sort of moving through your body, especially for your first 3 sessions. You might feel like your hands are cramping up. You'll feel tingling around your face. You might feel emotions and energy moving through your chest or your stomach. And that's really stress and emotion that's been buried and been stagnant that wants to move and wants to release. And the way that we position the HypnoBreathwork sessions, it's really for you to become more self-aware and maybe observe those psychological patterns and expand your mind into a new way. So it's very active, it's very intense, it's very physical. And I think that's why people are so intrigued by the practice and they can maybe stick with it longer than meditation. I get the same feedback all the time. It's so hard for me to meditate. I can't calm down my mind. I'm constantly running my to-do list and people will give up on the meditation. But with the breath, because it's so physical, because at least you can tell that something's happening in your body. And at the end of it, you'll at least at the very, very minimum, feel so much lighter and so much clearer. It's a better habit, I think, for people to start on their personal development journey because they'll stick with it long enough to start to experience some results.
All right, well, let's paint a real clear picture here then. This sounds swell. So we're lying down, we're comfy, got a blanket or something. We got eye masks, so we got sort of nice visual stimuli all kind of blocked away. And then we're doing this breathing, 2 inhale, 1 exhale. Could you give us a demo on that?
Yeah, so it's an inhale into your belly, inhale into your chest, and exhale. And your inhales are done through your nose and your exhales through your mouth. So it looks like inhale belly, inhale heart, exhale, inhale belly, inhale chest, exhale. And another key differentiator in the style of breathwork we teach is music is a really big part of it. So we might play more shamanic beats if we're doing a healing session from your past. We might play Adele or Celine Dion if we're going through relationships and healing heartbreak. We might play more of like a Rufus du Sol and ethereal, cinematic, Braveheart soundtrack type of tunes if we're getting into your most powerful state or seeing your 2025 roadmap for your business. So the music and the topics really shape the vocal cues and the journey. It's very specific and it's very customized.
Okay. And so with that, 2 inhales, 1 to the belly diaphragm, 1 to the chest heart, and then the exhale. Is there a pace we're aiming for?
It's a good question. I think that I try to let people go at a pace that they're really comfortable with to start because I'd rather they stay for the whole journey and experience the benefits than push them too hard on the first one. I definitely work with a lot of athletes and peak performers who are pumping the breath extremely fast and they're feeling sort of an out of body experience really early on because they're breathing in such an accelerated fashion. But honestly, you can take it fairly slow in a place that feels good and feels comfortable, and you'll still be able to access those deeper brainwave states for the emotional breakthroughs and insights. So this pacing is nice, like a medium pace. Inhale, inhale, Exhale. Inhale. Inhale. Exhale. That's sort of an ideal middle.
Yes, and as you're doing it, I imagine there's probably some group effects in terms of the rhythmic groove. And you talk about these beats. Well, now you reminded me, a buddy of mine mentioned he did, I don't know if I'm pronouncing these words right, holotropic breathwork at Esalen.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the same thing as this, or is that different than this?
That's sort of the OG. Like that's the grandfather of breathwork. So definitely huge respect to Leonard Orr and to Stan Groff, sort of the grandfathers of that practice. Stan Groff was a clinical psychologist who studied LSD in the 60s and then created holotropic breathwork as a psychospiritual way for people to do deep trauma healing and see childhood memories and become higher versions of themselves and really access those altered states of consciousness. So that's the first breath work that I ever experienced. And I did 7 sessions in Bali at a private breathwork retreat, which is why I became so in love with the practice. But what we've done now is we've really modernized it. Holotropic breathwork can also last 60 to 90 music. Typically, the music doesn't have any lyrics in it, and there's also no vocal guidance or cues. And there's sort of a signature effect of drawing a mandala after your experience to really help you integrate and sort of hold on to the internal, events that had just taken place.
What is a mandala?
It's basically a visual representation. You use different either crayons or markers and a white sheet of paper to just create a visual to sort of cement or integrate the practice for you. When I had my first experience with that, I was writing words and trying to understand the different colors and the different memories that I had seen. And the teacher was like, no, just draw like a visual representation of it. And I was like, I'm not an artist. I don't know what that means. And I'm trying to understand my my psychological limitations. And so that's when I really noticed that I have this ability and this desire to really connect the dots between an experience and truly changing your life. And that's when hypnosis became also foundational in the practice as well as visioning or visualization.
Well, it sounds like this is powerful for you and for many of the folks you're working with. Do we have any juicy published science on this goodness?
Well, Stanford Research just came out with a study recently through, I believe at the beginning of 2024 with Andrew Huberman that said that breathwork is now scientifically proven to improve mood and sleep and reduce stress, and it's more effective than meditation.
Oh, this was the paper with his physiological size relative to the other breathing practices or the mindfulness.
Mm-hmm. And meditation. It was a comparison to meditation. The New York Times recently covered that a lot of clinicians are now bringing and psychologists are bringing breathwork into their practices so that it's not just intellectually and mentally processing, but people are also having a somatic release. And it's still relatively new. It's still relatively fresh. So I think we're going to see more and more articles and sort of that research come out, very similar to what we're seeing with like MDMA and ketamine. So stay tuned to this space because I think people are going to see that it's a very profound and transformative practice. And what I like about it versus plant medicine is that it's just your natural breath and it's so accessible.
Right. And so if we're comparing it to plant medicine, I mean, that sounds pretty potent. Is this safe? Like if I just say someone hears this podcast and says, that sounds awesome. I'm going to get my blanket. I'm going to get my eye shade, going to get my breath on and my music on and some suggestions on. For 22 minutes, away I go. Are we cool? Are we safe? Any things to watch out for?
So I believe that breath is your life force and it has medicinal properties. And we're just now really tapping into how profound that can truly be for your healing. I think when you ask the question, are you safe? For a lot of people, they don't want to open Pandora's box. They don't want to go into some maybe memories or life events that have been painful for them. But I find it to be more unsafe to hold on to that emotion and allow it to shape the decisions that you make in your career, in your relationships, and in your health. So for me, while it might be intense and while it might feel heavy at times, the breath is a natural mechanism for you to explore some of those emotions, to heal and release them simultaneously in real time, and to gain that clarity and to gain that more peaceful state. Now, we've developed Mastry, which is a platform that houses 80 different HypnoBreathwork sessions so that anybody can get whatever they need at any given time. And our intention is for you to breathe in this cadence for 20 minutes every single morning and take your action step as that higher version of yourself. Now, those sessions are more mild. So the sessions on the app, because they're audio guided sessions and you're doing them from the luxury of your own home, they are more about getting clarity, making a decision, hearing your intuition, feeling that self-love. When you're doing the deeper, more intense sessions that are maybe about processing grief or healing your inner child, those are sessions that I recommend that you do with a facilitator and you have somebody there to hold that space for you and to create that emotionally supportive environment if you're dealing with heavier emotions.
Okay, understood. So it might be handy to have, some support in play as a little bit of a safety backstop. But generally speaking, you're free of fatalities and lawsuits?
I have never had a fatality and I've never had a lawsuit, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, great. So you got an app, Mastery. How do we get it?
So it's Mastry. It's available on the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. And as soon as you log onto the app, it gives you a demo of the breath technique. And then it allows you to choose from, again, 80 different sessions based on whatever you need on topics of health, love, peak performance, corporate. And then afterwards, the very last cue of every single HypnoBreathwork session is, what is your one next intuitive action step? So we really try to take people through this journey where they see their highest selves, they shift their energy, and then they execute. They take action from that place so that it actually starts to move and shift and change their life. We have a digital action tracker that you will type that in after your session, and then you get a badge once you complete it.
Okay, cool. So that's how that works. Let's zoom in on the flow state. So you got a book. It sounds like one of the ways to get to flow states is, hey, do this stuff. Any other pro tips on getting more flow states more often and for longer?
So flow state is optimal consciousness, right? It's when things are effortlessly flowing, you're intrinsically motivated, discipline meets surrender, you lose sense of time. And my favorite way of defining it is when productivity meets alignment. That's truly the sweet spot. And sort of how I shared before, your subconscious is this record holder of all the podcasts you've listened to, conversations with mentors, investors, your bosses, your colleagues, the books that you've read. All of this stuff lives in your subconscious. And what the breath does, especially if you have a good coach and it gives you a very specific cue in flow state breathwork or HypnoBreathwork, will say, I want you to see the project. I want you to see the pitch. I want you to see yourself on that stage. I want you to see the campaign. And then you'll continue to breathe. You'll start to stimulate more ideas, more creative connections will start to get made. And then we might say something like, how do you want your audience to feel? What are the benefits that you want to convey? See your impact in the world. What's your next action step towards that? And it's a really profound way to create in a way that's original to you, that's very authentic, that's innovative. I really believe that this is where more invention and nuance comes from. And the breath is just a brilliant way to hack that state in 20 minutes.
Well, let's talk about some of these suggestions. Can I hear some of your faves?
Well, I customize them by industry. When I first started my coaching business, it was a really difficult transition from corporate and having that stability and especially having that secure biweekly paycheck to going off and becoming a breathwork coach. And the way I did it was I treated my bedroom like a war room, and I had physiological benefits, psychological benefits, spiritual benefits, content strategy, pillars, messaging, partnership ideas. And then I would breathe and I would just say, what's the next step to scale my business? And immediately it would be like this topic with this contact, with this video, and then this email funnel. And these things would connect. And I did that every single day to grow my business and to scale it. And it became quite successful in the first 2 years. And then I brought it to different industries. So when I went back to advertising, I said, I want you to see the strategy. I want you to see the campaign. What are the media channels? How do you want your audience to feel? What's your next action step as a team? How can you collaborate? I would use very customized vocal cues, but if I was speaking to lawyers, see yourself in the courtroom. What's the energy you want to convey? What are your mannerisms? What's the case? See the victory. If I'm going to sports teams, it's see yourself on the field. It's just very specific and very customized. So I would do like a 5 to 10 minute debrief with you, Pete, on what it is that you want to create in your business. Maybe it's podcast growth. Maybe it's your personal brand. I don't know. And then I would then flip it into vocal cues, match up the songs, and take you on a journey to expand and grow.
Well, it just sounds swell.
It is.
In terms of, I think everybody loves a little bespoke, custom, just for me kind of goodness when they're contracting a service provider. So that sounds like a successful formula for a winning business.
But you know what we found is that in order for me to sort of digitize this and scale the work, there are general cues that can be applicable for everyone. So even if I say, what's your goal? What would it feel like to accomplish that goal? See the goal like you already have the outcome that you want. Step into that. Now it works for millions of people, even though they're having a different internal experience.
I dig that. Well, Francesca, could we hear a couple of those general pieces? I know some outcomes our listeners are after often are confidence and the ability to focus. Any cues that seem to be winning on those dimensions?
So those are two very different sessions. For focus, I would say I want you to see the task at hand. And once you've been breathing for about 1 to 2 songs, I would say, what's the priority task? Because your intuition is then going to not put the busy work in front, but actually put the one that moves the needle the most, because breathwork really organizes thought streams. So what's the task at hand? What is it that you need to prioritize? What is distracting you? And then I would have you breathe out the distractions. If you are known to be a procrastinator, I would say, what is at the root of the procrastination? And there we might be going a bit deeper because there might be a fear of success. There might be a fear of failure. There might be a fear of judgment. I would have you wrap your breath around that, move it up to your chest, exhale, keep breathing out any discomfort, keep breathing out any resistance or tension. And then I would see the task like it's done, like it's complete. How would you feel in your body? What would be the reaction around you? Feel that peace, feel that freedom. And then I would say, what's your next action step to completing the task? And it might be delegation, set the meeting, have the conversation, just check it off the list. There's a different action steps for everybody. So that's what I would do on focus. And we do have that on Mastry app where you can breathe for 20 minutes and you'll get those cues in a more eloquent way with the music. And then for confidence is an interesting one. Typically, if I'm guiding someone towards confidence, I would actually have them see the last time they felt confident. So we can start to generate that emotion in their body. And then I would have them apply it to their present moment where they're needing to feel a bit more empowered, a bit more liberated. So I might say, see the word confidence. What does it bring up for you? Breathe out any insecurities. Now visualize the last time you felt confident. And now bring that emotion to your present day visualization and see if they can anchor those two things.
Well, Francesca, this is fun as you describe these states. You're bringing me back to, 2009, walking on hot coals with Tony Robbins. Not just me, there were thousands of people there. But he had a nice little recipe for whipping up a state of mind, body, emotion in terms of adjusting your physiology, like how you're holding your body, your visualization, and what you were saying to yourself. And there was a lot of power moves, a lot of yes going on. How do you think about your approach to entering into states in comparing and contrasting with this kind of advice?
I love Tony Robbins. I really do. He's probably my greatest expander. I also really love Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I think that they both have techniques that have changed millions of lives. For me personally, I have to remove the subconscious block in order for me to really believe that power pose. I can't just jump up and down to a song and feel like I'm energized and I feel clear. That doesn't work for me. Maybe I have too much trauma. I'm not really sure. But, like when I'm on this entrepreneurial path, or if you're an executive, a manager, employee, it doesn't really matter what your position is. But if someone's like, feel better, don't be anxious, that doesn't work for me per se. I have to actually see where the root of that is coming from. Why am I having imposter syndrome right now? Where is this self-doubt percolating from? Where is it living in my body? Does it have a color? And a lot of times my conscious mind is very loud and my ego can be very loud, and I'll think I know the answer, but my subconscious is a lot deeper. It'll take me to like ages 7 or age 14. This event happened in high school. And I'll need to breathe out those limitations and those sources of where the identity or the pattern formed. So that's my experience. And that's my experience with a lot of my clients who have maybe been through more life events that have made them really create that self-doubt. And so that's why we like the breath. We like going into the subconscious. We like taking it several layers deeper to really get to the root and dissipate it from the source, and then see the stage, see the scalability, see the exit, see your most powerful self. So it's just a little bit of a deeper psychological process that is more effective for me personally.
Okay, beautiful. Well, tell me anything else you want to make sure to mention.
Yeah.
To folks looking to be awesome at their jobs before we hear about some of your favorite things?
I have two things. First, Pete, I want to know what your biggest 2025 goal is.
I'd say one would be getting one of my businesses into a good spot with regard to just regular growing client acquisition. It seems like it's sort of like, oh yeah, we get some referrals and we get some people come in, but it's like, I'd really like a repeatable, predictable process by which we are able to kind of turn on the get customers engine. Whereas it's been a little bit, hey, good months and bad months, you know?
Yeah. Consistency.
Yeah.
Consistent growth. Is it product, service?
Service.
Okay. So what we would do in a session like that is we would do a creative brainstorm for 10 minutes and we would talk marketing. We would talk funnels. Is it content? Is it a different platform? Is it TikTok? Is it LinkedIn? Is it influencers? We would do a little brainstorm, testimonials, video ideas. Is it a webinar? We would basically brainstorm a couple of things together. And then I would take you into the breath and I would say, see your business. Where are the gaps? Where are the opportunities? And you're deeper now. You're in theta. Things are percolating. You're starting to get ideas. You're starting to get insights. You might see a blind spot, say. And then I'd say, what is your biggest opportunity for growth? A couple ideas might come up in your subconscious. And then I would say, now visualize your business having consistent growth. And how does that feel in your body? And it might feel like ease. It might feel like freedom. It might feel like abundance. It might feel like joy. And then I would say, now, from that vibration, from that state, what's your next action step to grow your business? And then the answer might be hire a team, hire a social media manager, up your digital ad spend. There's all these things that will come from all the information and knowledge that you have on that business, but it's just taking you on a little bit of a deeper journey that is a bit similar to microdosing, I would say.
Oh, okay.
So I just want to throw that out there so that you could really understand what a customized flow state might look like for you. And then the last thing I would want to say to your listeners is that intuition is a superpower in your work. I think that we lean too heavy on strategy and systems and knowledge and information, and we don't lean enough on our own inner intelligence and our own inner wisdom. And when you learn to trust yourself and you learn to trust this knowledge that you uniquely hold within, then your life can start to have a more original path. It can start to have more joy. You can start to attract more synchronicities and opportunities, and it can take unpredictable turns that your logical and linear mind wouldn't have seen. So I would invite everyone to listen more to your intuition and to fiercely execute on it.
All right. Thank you. Big thanks to Francesca for sharing her wisdom with us. A big thanks to our sponsors. Check them out. One sponsor to check out is Lingoda. Years ago, I tried learning Spanish, but stopped within weeks because I was all alone. It was just me and the software, which is why I recommend Lingoda, which offers live, affordable, online language learning lessons in small group classes. My teacher, Ricardo, was so friendly and patient, and there were only 3 of us in the class, so we could really interact and speak Spanish with live feedback from the instructor. Ricardo then even sent me a personalized follow-up piece for exactly how I should focus my own individual practice. Improve your French, German, Spanish, Italian, or English and Business English with Lingoda. Commit to your New Year's resolution with the Lingoda Flex. Receive a 10% discount and up to 45 free private classes when you sign up today with the code AWESOME2025 at lingoda.com. That's LINGODA.com with code AWESOME2025. Or use the link in the show notes. One sponsor to check out is EarthBreeze. I recently saw a spooky documentary about the avalanche of plastic we throw away or try to recycle, but doesn't really get recycled. So I've been trying to cut back. And the most delightful way I've been cutting back has been foregoing those huge laundry detergent bottles for EarthBreeze detergent sheets. EarthBreeze detergent comes in convenient plastic-free packaging, so they're more eco-friendly than traditional detergent. And I just love how quick and easy and portable they are. I can keep some loaded in my suitcase for an Airbnb or travel laundry emergency. I'm ready. And I save a good 20 seconds of carefully trying to pour and measure liquid detergent into the machine by tossing a quick and easy sheet in there. I love their scent-free version, which is easy on my clothes and skin. So check out EarthBreeze for an easy way to get clean clothes without all the plastic waste. And get 40% off with your subscription at earthbreeze.com/awesome. That's earthbreeze.com/awesome. One sponsored checkout is Acorns. If you've got a New Year's resolution to save more money this 2025, don't be among the 92% who fail. Become awesome at saving your money with Acorns. Acorns makes it easy to start automatically saving and investing so your money has a chance to grow for you, your kids, and your retirement. You don't need to be an expert. Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that fits you and your money goals. You don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you invest with the spare money you've got right now. You can start with $5 or even just your spare change. And it doesn't take much time at all. I find the Acorns site and app to be beautiful, easy, convenient. NerdWallet rates them excellently, and so do I. So head over to acorns.com/awesome or download the Acorns app to start saving and investing for your future today. And a little disclosure here, paid on client endorsement, compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 1 compensation provided. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/awesome. Now, could you share a favorite quote? Something you find inspiring.
Act on your intuition.
Okay. And a favorite book?
My favorite book is Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson.
And is there a key nugget you share that really seems to resonate with folks? They quote it back to you often?
That every single person has a unique purpose in this life. And when we heal bits of the past, that will start to become clearer and your life will have more color and more joy and more peace.
All right. And if folks want to learn more, get in touch, where'd you point them?
You can grab my book, Unblock Your Purpose, on Amazon or find me on Instagram at Francesca Sipma or my website, francescasipma.com.
And do you have a final challenge or call to action for folks looking to be awesome at their jobs?
I think if you want to be awesome at your job, one article or two articles that I've recently come by is this new sort of wave called the Great Stay, which is basically like we were in the Great Resignation and now we're in the Great Stay where people feel stuck at their jobs and they feel immense burnout and resentment. And breathwork will rejuvenate this position for you. Breathwork will help you find the gratitude again. It'll help you find your creativity again, and you might actually discover your purpose within your organization.
All right. Thank you. Francesca, this has been fun. Thank you. I wish you all the best.
Thanks for having me.
I love what Francesca had to say, and it's kind of fun to play with these interventions that are less about the mind and more about the body. And I went ahead and tried out her Mastry app, and I had a cool experience. I was in a state beforehand where I was kind of tired, kind of overwhelmed, kind of didn't feel like dealing with stuff. It was been procrastinating. And I thought, let's give this a shot. And I liked that there were some like 8-minute options. And sure enough, after going through that, I felt pick me up and I was better able to take care of business. So a handy tool that might belong in your toolkit. If you want to check out the show notes or transcript or things that we referenced here, please visit us at awesomeatyourjob.com/EP1023. Hope to catch you next time, and peace.